Shooting on ones is essentially shooting 24 frames a second. If you shoot on twos, then you take a picture for every 2 frames. So it's 12 frames a second. These parameters have been in place for animation forever. Even when I first started out, which was a long time ago, in 2D animation, you know, you talk about twos or singles. Certainly from Coraline onwards, we wanted to animate on singles like 99% of the time, because I think we are aspiring towards what Disney used to call the illusion of life, and that's figurative animation, naturalistic animation. There are all different types of animation. You can animate pose to pose, you can animate straight ahead, you can have animation that's a little more rough and ready, that's, you know, they're all different aesthetics, and you can choose to use them. We choose to try and get the most fluid, nuanced performances possible. That's why we shoot on ones. Having said that, there are occasions where twos are in order. If a character is moving so negligibly that you can't physically move it on ones, then you could move it on twos. If a character is very, very far away from camera, so the movements are so tiny on the screen, then you can shoot on twos. But essentially, we chase the singles because it's a more fluid, more sophisticated, more nuanced look.
Put this on. Hey, Sir Lionel. Sorry, do you have a size bigger? I think I put a run in it.
A lot of stop motion is shot on twos. I mean, some people shoot on fours. Again, it's an aesthetic choice. Aardman does a lot of twos, but that's part of their signature, you know, and that speaks to the look of the thing. Like on Aardman, they purposefully replicate the thumbprints of the animator on a figure, even though those days are long gone. They're not made out of clay, they're not sculpted anymore, but they still include that because it gives it a look, and I think twos is part of that. It's a choice in the end.
You can speak!
Yes, and I write as well. My penmanship isn't great, but, you know, opposable thumbs and fat fingers, you know.
I think what makes stop motion special is that it is real light on real objects. These are handmade things. There is a tactility to that that is beautiful, that goes all the way back to your childhood and the idea of your toys coming alive. When you watch something stop motion, I think you feel like you can reach into the screen and touch it. That's in the very DNA of this medium. You can't take that away. You can use technology to push the medium forward. You can tell bolder stories, bigger scopes, bigger scale. You can have bigger sets, more characters. But in the end, stop motion is what it is. And I think the idea of advancing any animation towards this goal of ultimate realism, I don't necessarily think that's true.
I give you my word.
Okay, what is it?
What?
Your word.
No, it's a figure of speech.
Sounds good, what is it?
Photorealism, that's the pursuit of some people, but for a lot of people it's not. And I think what a lot of people's ambition in both CG animation and stop motion animation is just to use technology to enable them to do more with the medium. It doesn't change the aesthetic. I know plenty of people who work in CG animation, and they're doing the opposite of chasing realism. They're chasing, something that's more radically stylized or more absurd. And I think, again, it comes down to what do you want the final product to look like? We use technology to accentuate. We use technology to aid us to tell more complicated stories. But we will never use technology to replace the medium that we love.